challenging, and moreover, personally, we oppose the side that is allocated to us. However, I think that with the help of our beloved mentor, we have really high confidence in our upcoming debate.
I think the most challenging thing about debating this motion is that the two concepts mentioned in this motion, which are abstinent-only sex education and comprehensive sex education, are fairly new concepts for, I think, for Vietnamese audience, like when sex education is still a very controversial topic in our country. When we talk about a highly sensitive topic like sex education, which I don't think that should be sensitive, but we're trying to normalize it in the context of Vietnamese culture. Everything we talk about, we try to find evidence and researches to back up our ideas.
I think that with this attitude and with all the potential we got, we can do the thing that we always want. We will make our high hopes become reality. Fighting!
Fighting!
We will always have high hopes, guys.
High hopes!
High hopes!
To be honest, when we first read the motion, it was definitely challenging because we didn't expect to debate about sex education, and because this is such a controversial topic and it will attract a lot of opinions coming from different sides.
We started prepping the case by doing a lot of research and then presented to our mentor, and he has helped us a lot by adding more and more information.
I think they were excellent, diligent students. They did all of the homework, all of the participants to new perspectives, and it encourages them to think about different solutions to this very pressing problem. So I think they have put in the work. I just hope that that work will be carried through and they can stay calm. As long as they stay calm, I think they will have fantastic results.
Luckily, we had the help of our mentor as well as the participation of all our teammates. So we think that we have done a good job, and we'll see how it unfolds at the debate round.
Come and ignite your passion. Ignite your passion.
Welcome back to The Debaters Season 3, a debate game show for students all across Vietnam. The Debaters is produced by VTV7 and British University Vietnam. My name is Lung Vo, and I'll be your host today. Let's take a look at our motion for today. That we support abstinence-only sex education over comprehensive sex education in secondary schools. This motion could be a rather sensitive matter, but don't worry about it. I'm sure we're going to have plenty of good arguments from our students. With that being said, let's invite our teams. On the preposition side, we have the high hopes. On the opposition team, please welcome Kefi Squad. Hello, guys. How are you guys doing today?
I think we are doing great. Super great.
Super great. Nice. You sound enthusiastic. Where are you guys from?
We're from 3 different provinces. I'm from Hanam, Anne is from Thái Bình, and Ming is from Hanoi.
Nice. So you guys are from 3 different provinces. Have you guys gotten to know each other very long?
I think
pretty long.
Yeah. A long time.
Enough to create a very strong friendship.
A very strong friendship. Okay, nice. I hope you guys will have a good round, and good luck to you guys, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you. And where are you guys from?
Ho Chi Minh City.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. And you?
And I'm from Hanoi.
Being that you guys are from pretty far away, have you guys gotten to get to know each other for very long?
Not that long, but we met through different debate tournaments and competitions, so I think I can say that we know each other pretty well.
Well, best of luck to you guys today. Don't be nervous. And just have a good time.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Yeah. And of course, with that being said, I could not survive without my lovely panel of judges. Hey, Juan, I like this look on you today. You look so young and beautiful. So I have a question. Do you think that physical appearance has an effect on the effectiveness of giving a speech?
Absolutely not, right? It's about delivery, perhaps, but physical appearance should not and does not have influence.
Okay, nice. Mr. Huang Long, with the current topic, do you have any personal views or any personal opinion, any particular advice to our contestants today to give a good speech?
So I think for this motion, usually for debaters, they tend to make it to the comparison between abstinent only versus comprehensive sex education. However, I hope you guys will not forget about the part in secondary schools, because that context is very important and it can change a lot when it comes to framing or strategic moves.
All right, and then Stuart, could you give us a little bit of insight from a European perspective? How was sexual education for you growing up?
Sure. So firstly, I remember being introduced to it at school formally quite young. So I think we were introduced at about grade 6. At that time, it was the boys and the girls were separated, and it was comprehensive sex education. It wasn't focusing on abstinence. It was focusing on a wide range. So that's what I experienced. And then going into high school, it was more mixed classes. Boys and girls studied this thing together. So I think for me, there's one side that's more intuitive, but of course, coming to this debate, I'm going to remain impartial, and I'm interested to see what both sides bring to the table today.
Okay. Without further ado, I'd like to start round 1 and invite our 2 contestants to the stage. From the proposition side, may I please have Nguyen Ho Hoàng Minh. And from the opposition side, may I please have Nguyễn Khánh Linh. Hello. So how have you prepared for this round?
This motion is really hard for us, but after all, we really find ourselves a solution and we come up with a pretty good cases.
Okay, nice. You pretty confident?
Yeah, pretty confident.
Okay, good. Best of luck. And standing here on the stage, how are you feeling? Do you feel nervous?
I think that I consider this the last time that I give a speech, but I'm still nervous because he is my teacher. The one that brought me in debate.
I'm a little bit curious here. Why do you say it's your last time giving a speech?
My mentor said that just consider this the last time and give our best shot.
Okay, so live like this is your last time, right?
Yes.
Best of luck, okay?
Okay.
Thank you. For round 1, the rules are as usual, but I'm going to review really quickly. Each contestant will have 3 minutes to present. No POIs, and the proposition team will go first. Any questions? No, okay. With that said, ready, set, debate.
Panels. We're living in a society where everything is strongly believed that early sex is unacceptable. Despite that, 1 million adults have become pregnant and 20 million teens have STDs each year. And the average age of sexual initiation is gradually decreasing. If the social norms aren't enough to prevent all of these behaviors, we would urge for the need to consolidate the fear of having early sex in children by formalizing abstinence-only sex education since secondary school to prevent all the death-row consequences at the very first place. Let proposition team wants to clarify that both teaching methods support sex at appropriate ages, but when comprehensive sex education advocates abstinence, it also includes breakouts like safe sex or contraceptives, etc. But at the same time, our abstinence-only sex education would only emphasize 1, the dire consequences of having sex too early, and 2, all the risks of using contraceptive of all ages, and we would exaggerate the consequences if it's needed. Okay, for instance, we would teach it something like, condom typical fail rate among adults is already nearly 20%, but this possibility is much more higher when it comes to secondary students because they are unskilled people. So our case has 2 main claims. That first, we would prove that that the rates of the children having unprotected sex in the secondary school and in the both worlds are the same, even if their side of the house come here and try to say that abstinence-only sex education would promote more unsafe sex. And 2, we would show why under the comprehensive sex education, the rate of having early sex in the abolition world would be much higher than in our world. Okay, come to our first claim, is that the number of unsafe sex cases are the same in both worlds. So even if with the comprehensive education, the society is still all about opposing early sex. So if the child is determined to have sex, the status quo would make it harder for them to have safe sex in most cases. From the child perspective, condom sellers would undoubtedly judge them because they having like early sex, right? So this would discouraging them from purchasing condoms or contraceptives. B, when sexual urge arises, they will not use contraceptives because of 3 reasons. 1, their emotion takes over their rationality. 2, they find it too inconvenient. And 3, they are pursued or pressured by their own partners. That it will decrease the quality of their sexual experiences. And C, even if they have decided to use that contraceptive at the moment, we believe that even if they're being taught of those knowledge, we believe that it doesn't mean that, oh, they would put it to reality and their costs are not being reviewed and fixed in class, so they will likely to fail to apply contraceptions and effectively. And we believe that still, your side of the house, the students are still get to expose with STDs and pregnancies. After all, at the end of the day, we believe that teaching comprehensive sex education in secondary students is not effectively and it's pointless for this debate. Thank you.
The forbidden food is more alluring, and only guidance will bring the misguidance to light. That is what your side is not having. The first person from the proposition side came here and tell us that in their side of the house, the abstinence-only sex education would still teach students about contraceptives. This is wrong. Reason for this is that abstinence sex education definitionally is about no sex at all. Therefore, protection is more like stating that if you do it, here is how to do it safely. Therefore, their side will not teach students at all about safe sex. That is the only thing will happen in our side of the house. Let's come to the first argument. The first argument is that in our side of the house, we can promote safe sex that reduce sex-related risks such as STDs, unwanted pregnancy, and abortion. So, firstly, we uniquely offer necessary knowledge for safe sex. On the one hand, abstinence-only sex is about no sex at all. Therefore, the majority of time is spent on fear and touches very lightly on prevention, if any. So, on the other hand, in comprehensive sex education, we teach students a lot about prevention and protection of all kinds. So, instead of just knowing about condoms, we actually show them how to use it using illustration. Instead of telling them that STD is very bad, we actually show them the signs of STDs and where they can seek help. And therefore, in our side of the house, we are the only side that uniquely baby step the children and guide them through all these by the professionals and preventing them from being misguided by their own curiosity. Secondly, we promote willingness to learn safe sex through a positive feedback loop and trust. Okay, students, we are growing up, and because of this, we want the trust from our parents. So we have to prove to them that we are mature, responsible, and well-equipped about sexual behaviors. Comprehensive sex education gives a very positive message, which is we, as adults, parents, and teachers, we trust you. We give you the tool and do what we believe that you will do right. This creates a positive feedback loop that promotes smart and independent decisions. This is important. Why? Because only when adults trust and are transparent to the students about everything, the student will trust them back. When they are kept in the dark by the proposition side, they will rebel and hide themselves from the adults. And only in our side, this trust will help to the student to actively ask for advice from the parents and teachers instead of searching all of these information online, which can lead to misinformation or even attract the sexual predators on the internet. So thirdly, safe sex must be practiced and taught right in secondary school. This is important. Why? Number one, according to VN Express, at least 36% of secondary school students already have had sex. Shocking, right? I didn't even know that. So hence, safe sex is a very necessary for the secondary school student. Moreover, the NGO Youth Government reported that by 22 years old, 50% of women who have kids have no high school education. So they have no safe sex education at all in their entire life, because secondary education is compulsory for everyone. We make sure that everyone will learn about safe sex, and therefore the world will be a better place where everyone are well equipped with knowledge. Thank you.
Wasn't that a tense debate, guys? Since you looked at me first, hey Juan, can I please get your remarks?
Thank you both speakers for beginning this debate. I know that this is, among many, many other things, a highly controversial topic, especially when it comes to your generation currently in Vietnam right now. So I appreciated a very heated as well as a candid depiction of what kind of education your peers should be receiving. I think the first speaker's job for both teams is to really lay out what is the strongest point that you are going to try to deliver as a team. I think it's important that you go on the offense than the defense at this point in the debate, meaning you need to really be able to highlight to me what ultimately is the reason why I should be leaning towards you from the very beginning. What are the mutually exclusive benefits or the impacts that your team has? And in this motion, the dichotomy is fairly clear. You want one type of education, you want another type of education. So for me, it was a fairly easy decision because I felt that the opposition provided me very nuanced and comprehensive reasons of why teenagers in Vietnam right now should be receiving comprehensive sex education. My points go to the opposition.
Good job, you got 10 points already. Good job. Next, Mr. Long.
Okay, hello guys. I think the two speeches are fairly good in terms of basic skill and setup and arguments. However, as I pointed out earlier, for this motion alone, the phrase "in secondary schools" is extremely important, right? So I think that like for prop side, you had a very, kind of good case on why abstinence sex education in general has some own benefits, right? But I think only in op side I can see more analysis of the stakeholder in secondary schools and why comprehensive sex education is particularly more beneficial for these stakeholders. So that's why 10 points for opposition as well.
Nice job there. Got 20 points for opposition. And Stuart, no pressure.
No pressure at all. I think for both sides, I'm yet to be fully convinced that you've outlined what the issue is that you're trying to avoiding and how you're actually mitigating that. So for example, with the opposition side, it kind of fell down to there are high levels of teenage pregnancy, and that's why we need this type of comprehensive sex education. But you're not really telling me why comprehensive sex education is really actually tackling those numbers and what the mechanism is. For the proposition sides, there were a few kind of arguments that I thought could have been developed a bit more. So for example, you mentioned that they will just have urges and therefore will choose not to have sex. But if they don't know about condoms and they don't know about the other types of protection, maybe they'll just have unprotected sex. That's always a possibility, and maybe actually in your camp that's a higher chance because they have less awareness about these other mechanisms. I would say in comparison to both sides, I think there still needs to be a bit of work in terms of actually explaining how your mechanism is going to actually try and solve the issue. But my 10 points for the first round is going to go to the proposition side, because I think you guys actually have a lot of potential in your arguments. They just need strengthening a little bit, and as you go through the rounds, hopefully that's going to be picked up by your teammates. Okay, so my 10 points go to the proposition side.
Nice. Nice. So with that being said, proposition team, you have 10 points, and opposition team, you have 20 points. Thank you guys. You guys can please take a seat. Hold on, folks. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
When comprehensive sex education advocates abstinence, it also includes breakouts like, safe sex or contraceptives, etc.
So, on the other hand, in comprehensive sex education, we teach students a lot about prevention and protection of all kinds. So instead of just knowing about condoms, we actually show them how to use it using illustration.
I think it's important that you go on the offense than the defense at this point in the debate, meaning you need to really be able to highlight to me what ultimately is the reason why I should be leaning towards you from the very beginning.
Welcome back to the debaters. This is round 2. Let me welcome the speakers for round 2. From the proposition side, Pham Thuy Anh, please step on up. And on the opposition side, Nguyen Thinh Lam. So, Ms. Anh, how did you prepare for this round? Did you listen to any of the critiques from the previous round?
To be honest, we only prep for the proposition side. That's the reason why I'm pretty confident right now.
Okay, best of luck to you, okay?
Thank you.
Lam ơi,
Yes.
nhìn em hiền cho bạn em quá.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's surprising.
She, you know, at first was so timid and then she stole the points. So is that your tactic as well? Look very timid and then steal all of the points too?
Oh, that actually surprised me because I thought I look very mean right now.
I don't know. Do you feel scared, Aang? No. No? Well, your face didn't work, sorry.
Yeah.
But hopefully your other tactics will work too, okay? Best of luck to you, okay?
Thank you.
Alrighty, so for round 2, the rules will be slightly different. Each contestant will have 4 minutes to complete. POIs are allowed, and the preposition team will start first. Any questions?
Nope.
Perfect. With that being said, let the debates begin.
We are not saying that comprehensive sex education is inherently wrong. We are saying that it is ineffective in secondary schools. Remember that the whole premise of the opposition side is the capability of making decisions of secondary students, which is not true because we have to know that secondary students are one, they are not physically fully developed, and two, their mentality and their perception of the world is sometimes flawed. That's why we believe that they are not always able to make right decisions. That's why they will not build the trust. That is also why we do not give valid consent to the 11 to the 15 in most countries. So we believe that this premise is wrong. That's why secondary students should not have sex early. So coming to our case here, we believe that the comprehensive sex education is now encouraging students to have more sex, to have more early sexes. Okay, so we have to know that students have many incentives to have sex because they want to be cooler. They want to show people that they are more mature. Also, they are soon exposed to the glorification of sex through media. That's why they will have sex whenever they can. But we have to know that the secondary students are not ready for sex. Their physicality, their mentality is not ready. And that's why we believe that a student who wants to have sex is just like a criminal who wants to commit a crime. In both sides, we know that this criminal are fear of prison. But the only reason why he would not commit crimes is that the reason why he would commit crimes is to know that he can escape. And the way you are providing these students with escapism, with getaway methods is the reason why they would commit more sex. But why is this so detrimental? Because we believe that secondary students do not have sex early because one, we have to know that they are not physically developed and their perception of the world is flawed. Even if we accept that these students would have safe sex, we have to know that this will violate the principle of consent. The key difference between secondary and high school is that students do not have a legal consent to have sex in any country. Why the nature of consent is when one accepts to do something, when he is fully acknowledged that what will actually happen. These students do not know that. They cannot conceptualize the risk that they are facing. That's why we believe that they lack autonomy in decision. That's also why they are easily influenced and manipulated, especially when it comes to girls, when they are forced to have sex to prove the love. That's why we believe that the opposition side is now causing more consent violation. Even if they have safe sex, we believe that this is not good because who is their partners? We believe that they would choose their peers to be their partner because they are under the impression that making love is the only way to show trust and real love. However, these secondary student relationships are more often than not last for just a short period of time. As one, they're not mature enough to have any certainty and to have the capability of building trust. And two, there's absolutely chance of them quarreling around, sometimes breaking up. That's why results in they wanting to take revenge. And three, they sometimes boys adopt a dumb mindset of scoring more girls by having sex with them, means that they are more seductive. They will tell people about who they had sex with. So we believe that with a social taboo right now, there will be fear of exposure, and the fear of someone find out about the sex will scare them, because even comprehensive sex education also includes abstinence, also encourage students to save the sex for the appropriate age. That's why we believe that these fears would last for a long time, eventually turn into anxiety and insecurity. So there's no insecurity and heavily damage their mentality. That's why when this sex is supposed, these students will find it pointless to trust someone, and this incapability of building trust will eventually damage the way they build relationships later on, which will eventually damage all aspects of their life. Proud to propose. Thank you.
When I was in secondary school, I was so confused about all things sex related because there was no guidance. I didn't know where to seek help. Because of that, I wish, looking back in what I have been through in secondary school, I wish I had comprehensive sex education. Here's why our team will win this debate. First, some few rebuttals for your side. You said that fear works effectively at deterring premature sex. Here's why you're wrong. Fear does not work effectively because it requires you to be rational, and only when you are thinking straight can you wait out the blown-out consequences of having sex, again, not having it. So on your side of house, you also agree with us that, oh, students are young, they're irrational, so it's nice with your own case. So because sexual urges, as proven by my teammates, are spontaneous and strong, so students will still have sex on your side of the house. So you can just not run around and tell us about that, oh, the damages of having sex at this age, when you yourself says that, oh, I will accept that.
Well, by exaggerating the risk of contraceptives, we can actually fear these students of having sex because they know that once they have sex, they would eventually, their life would eventually be ruined afterwards.
We also know this because we also teach about potential consequences. This is not mutually exclusive because even in comprehensive sex education, we also show them the potential consequences that they might face. And you have to look at the 16-year-old girl. They also know that if they have pregnancy at this age, it will be detrimental to their lives, right? So this is not something that only your side of the house have. So you also make a comment on sex positivity. You said that, oh, because we have a sex positive attitude, it will encourage more students to have sex. But why does it even matter? We already have 36% of secondary students on your side of the house who already have sex in secondary school. So why does the addition matter anyway? Second of all, even if we accept your point that, oh, we encourage sex, but at least we give them the information so that they can do safe sex. They know the sexual boundaries, they know to respect other people's sexual preferences, orientation, identities. So all the consequences that you might think about, oh, abuse or consent will not happen because we teach them already about boundaries and respecting others people. Oh, coming to our points, what do we bring to the table? Comprehensive sex education empowers secondary students in other aspects of their sexual identity. No, thank you. First, two layers here. First, only comprehensive sex education can explore these aspects. What are these aspects? Comprehensive sex education in secondary school is primarily about safe sex, but it also promotes other messages, such as, sex is not shameful, sex is not bad, your sex drive is natural, your sex urges is natural, you can set your own sexual boundaries and no one can violate them. There are many sexual orientation, identities and preferences out there and all of them are valid. These are the messages that we don't get from the government side because you shy away from talking about sex at all. So you don't, no thank you. Second layer, these aspects can only be taught at this age. Why is it? Is it harder to study about sex education post-secondary? Because as you have stated, society is conservative, right? So because students later on in life, they will get exposed to society more. So they will already form preconceived conservative notions for society and they will shy away from talking about sex at all. So they will continue the mindset that, oh, sex is bad, I will never engage in sexual activities further on in my life. And also because secondary school is the most informative years in a person's sexual development. They are going through puberty right now and you cannot tell them like, oh, there is no use of learning about sex education, learning about the puberty and its confusing sexual implication years after you have experienced it. You need to learn about them now, and you need those formal teaching to blend in with your experiences to actually apply it and to realize. So on our side, this is the only side that can guarantee that to happen. So why is this important? Two strands here. First, to the individual, we can understand their sexual orientation, identity, and boundaries, so we can help them. Even if they engage in sex, they will engage in it in a more comfortably and more safe way. So they can realize microaggression, they can realize sexual harassment, so you can better protect them from if they ever can encounter such decisions. And also to the society. Your society is conservative and you will leave it conservative. On our side of the house, we actually have a hope for change because in the long run and after many generations of implementing comprehensive sex education, we can lessen sexual shaming in the house. And because of that, proud to oppose.
Very good, girls. That was quite a tense argument there. So, judges, are you still listening or did you finish listening yet? Okay, Stuart, can I please hear some remarks from you?
What I want to kind of see you do it is actually more about attacking what they're proposing rather than kind of building up this case about the effect it may have on younger students. I think you articulated your points well, but I think for your side, really think about what is actually the policy that's being put in place and how is that either going to directly reduce or have a negative impact on the issue at hand, okay, rather than just explaining why the issue is a problem itself. For the opposition side, I did like your rebuttal because it actually took something that they've already mentioned. So you noted that actually fear cannot be effective because in order to be influenced by fear, you need to be rational. We've already heard from the other side that children at this age are not rational. Therefore, it kind of debunks this notion. I thought that was really good. And I did also think that your idea of, okay, in your camp, we already know that underage sex is happening, okay? There isn't really clear idea of like what happens if that increases, okay? So at the moment, I think for you guys, you're noting that there isn't a huge negative impact from underage sex happening. It's just the communication that we need to implement and include. So for me, looking at both sides, I think for me, the opposition side dealt with the kind of mechanism of the motion a little bit more clearly and the policy in place, and therefore I'm going to give my 10 points to the opposition side for this one.
Nice job there. You've acquired 10 more points for your team, putting you guys at 30 points. That's pretty good there. Mr. Lam.
I had a little disagreement with Mr. Stewart. I think even for your rebuttals and your arguments, however, there's a lack of explaining the root causes of the problems that you're trying to solve, which affects the impact of your rebuttals and your arguments. So for example, we're going to talk about fear, whether fear can actually lead to deterrence. You say it's about rational, but I don't think that it's their mechanism. They say because it's irrational, that's why you need to use the irrational fear to make them unlikely to engage with sex, for example. And also, for example, you talk about people already having sex. That's why we should teach them how to have sex, for example. But is people already having sex because of the lack of sex education or because of abstinence-only sex education? I don't hear that. So I think at the end of the day, right, I still think there's a, on their side, we still have like safe sex, but they say, well, but it's not good. So I think the solution for their side can actually deal with the problem, better because of the analysis. So that's why 10 points for proposition side.
Alrighty, so you have 10 more points, bringing you guys up to 20 points over here. And Ms. Haewon.
I'm going to talk about two things. I think what was really interesting in this engagement was the idea of consent and how that particularly leads to young students who are going through puberty right now. I also think there was an interesting link between the model and the impact that you're trying to achieve. But let's talk about the first one, about consent and puberty. Look, I understand for the proposition, being young students yourselves, perhaps abstinence education, quote unquote, isn't the cool thing to be promoting right now. But I don't think there's a reason for you to be defensive about it. I think what I really appreciate about your speech as a second speaker was you were talking about how at the end of the day, consent is an important element. And at this young age, when there is social pressure as well as coercion from their peers to engage in underage sex, that indeed schools need to take a certain stance. I felt that that was, in a way, the first time in this debate from the proposition team where I heard a more of a offensive or a positive reason of why we need to support abstinence education. On the other hand, I think the opposition very much dealt with that quite well. I like the element that you had in terms of how we don't want to make sex education something shameful. We don't want to shy away from it. And I think that immediately when I heard you lay out those contexts towards the middle end of your speech, I really had no choice but to express my or my support for that element because I think you nuanced it very well, that comprehensive sex education is not running away from the problem. It's going head straight into these young students who might feel awkward about sex or who might feel ashamed about it. So I thought that engagement was quite interesting to see. Lastly, though, I think one of the decision makers, not the only, was correlation and causation, right? When it comes to sex education, whichever type it is, does it promote underage sex? Does it have nothing to do with it? How does it influence our students? I felt on that, I was more convinced by what the opposition had to bring to me in terms of what would promote a more healthier mindset about sex when we talk about these particular young students. So although I absolutely appreciated and applaud proposition's efforts, my points goes to the opposition.
Thank you, ladies, so much. Please stay tuned, folks. We'll be right back.
We have to know that secondary students are not ready for sex. Their physicality, their mentality is not ready.
Second of all, even if we accept your point that we encourage sex, but at least we give them information so that they can do safe sex.
Is people already having sex because of the lack of sex education or because of abstinence-only sex education? I don't hear that.
Ignite your passion. Ignite your passion.
Welcome back to the third round of the debaters. Let me welcome to the stage from the proposition team, Lu Lin Dang. And from the opposition team, Võ Thảo Linh. Hi, my friend.
Hello.
You know, talking with you backstage, I find you're a very, very, very friendly girl.
Oh, thank you.
Are you that friendly on stage?
I think that, yes. I want to deliver in a way that people can understand it, but they can still feel that debate is something fun and friendly, and everyone can join that.
And I think that you guys are doing a pretty good job with that. So
thank you.
Good luck to you today.
Thank you.
Okay. And hello, my friend. So the legacy of your teammates, it's might be hard to meet. Do you think you can do it?
I think I can do it. I'm pretty nervous right now because I have to keep up the good work that my teammate has done. But yeah, I will try my best to bring the win to our team.
Perfect. Well, I wish you the best of luck, okay?
Thank you.
For round 3, the rules will be the same, but I'm going to review really quickly. Each contestant will have 4 minutes to complete their speech. POIs are allowed, and the proposition side will go first. With that being said, may the debates begin.
Panels, information, healthy mindset. We can produce them when they are ready physically and mentally. That is when they grow out of the secondary student age. And that is what we're gonna debate on our debate today. We will produce 2 things. Firstly, the comprehensive sex education is not suitable for a secondary student because they encourage the student to have sex more if they already have that intention. And secondly, we're ready to gamble all the information right in order to stop them completely from having sex with fear. Okay, so let's come to the 2 rebuttals. I give your rebuttal side, I give your side. The first one is about the definition. I believe that they have wrongly defined the case of comprehensive education in the very beginning because comprehensive education is also abstinent plus education, which means they also teach students to support the fact that they should not have sex without consent, without inside the age of secondary students. So what they have to do is actually go against that definition. And even if we recognize that, we accept that, okay, you guys can do that, there are 2. The next rebuttal will talk about the thing called information that you give our student. What they give is they give all the student, the whole student, the normal student, that you should have a healthy mindset, you should have this one and that one, but that is not necessarily what you should have when you are in secondary high school. You can have that when you're in high school, when you grow older, when you get further education, and that is the point when you can legally make your decision. But now what the other team do is that they provide the getaway for the student who want to have sex. And that is the problem. Because why? Some characterization. Children who intending to have sex in your world, they are so impulsive, they are rebellious. They want to do that because they have that exposure in social media. They want to try something new. So that what they do is exactly telling them that you can do that. Because you can probably get out of getting early pregnancy because you condom, because you abortion. So you can probably do that. So that they just care about one thing, that how to experience the fantasy of having sex, how to become more adult without really realizing that the consequence is already there. But we can do better than that, because with a secondary student, we provide the fear, the ultimate fear, because there is no way to get away if you commit such sexual activity. If you commit, then that will lead to consequence at the end, and there's no way to get away with it. And that is the thing. We are so different from you. Okay, let's come to the class. The first class is on the principle ground. We believe that we have won this one because the other side of the house heavily violate the consent premise, because you encourage students to have the more sex if they have already intending to do that. No, thank you. And second one, if you say that the student have the right to have information, I believe that this is not justifiable, because those information is produced in order to help them to stay away from the sexual activity. But what they do did not serve the purpose, because you provide information, and who intend to have sex, they will catch that, and they believe that, okay, I can do it now, and that will encourage the student to have more sex. That is the point. On the principle ground, we can also provide the right to have information when they are legally ready, when they are in high school, when they are older, 16, and that is the point. The second one, the class about the best case scenario of both teams. I believe that the best case scenario of your team is that you can provide information. That we can also do that when they grow older. And second one, about the physical safe, I do not accept that. Physically safe when they have sex. However, we can also produce that. In your case, they can still have mental problem because they regret the decision. They fear that they will be exposed to the society. The partner can revenge them and tell that to everyone, and that causes stress for the student. And in our case, we reduce the potential of the student who have sex. We have 5 students here who intend to do that, and with the fear we produce, we will reduce 4 of that. Only 1, okay? So next one, with the female social media exposure that students get every day. In our case, we at least have the fear to stop them completely from that, because they know that there is no way to get away. In conclusion, we believe that we have reduced the potential of students who get sex, and that is the point we want to prove. We can prove that we can produce them with the information later, and that is when they are ready. Thank you.
When children go through inevitable sexual developments, fear is not the answer for them. Guidance is, and this is how the opposition team is gonna win the debate. Okay, come to the first class. Which side can better protect the students? We believe that, firstly, fear is not exclusive on the government side, because on our side, when we teach them about sex education, it's not all about like how to get pleasures and measures, but also about the potential harms. And we also teach them about the sexual boundaries and the importance of consent when they're in such a young age, and they should not commit that at all, please.
How can you provide fear when you also provide that you can also get away with condom, with pill, with abortion? You cannot face the consequences.
Because we also teach them that at this age, at the secondary level, they are not suitable for that kind of activities. And we will later on elaborate on that point. Secondly, the matter of fact is that most of the cases of child sexual abuse are committed by acquaintances and families of the child alone, which means that the child in this case, they don't know anything about sexual boundaries and they don't know that other people can do intimate actions because when they don't feel comfortable. That's why is that happening, because they don't get any education at all. And only in our side, when we provide them with like the importance of consent and other methods, that is how they can get away from the sexual harassment that started from the other people, not from them alone. Okay, so the government also said that the child cannot comprehend all the information because it's too hard. We believe that children on both sides of the world are blank space of paper. So when we do it more, the sooner that we do it, educate them, the better they get later on in their life. And it's not about how hard the information is, also about how we deliver it. And the teachers can literally teach them about the core elements, and we can like teach the core groundwork, and we can even break like hard concepts such as philosophy or like morality into fables. And why can't we crack the sex education into those small stories for the children as well? So at the end of the day, we believe that when we equip the children with the information, they don't have any incentives to do the sexual activities. Because one more thing, they are now equipped with the knowledge, and when they decide to make that decisions, it's all on their fault. And now they cannot shift the blame game anymore. And this is so important, because why? Because the student now, they cannot like claim that they don't have education and they can blame the society for like expose them to sex at such an early age. So at the end of the day, even if students have more sex, which is our worst case and their best case, it is not as important as our other benefits as well, because we must acknowledge that 36% of like students right now, they already have sex, and the opposition team, they completely forget and ignore about them. And in the world of abstinence-only sex education, they will probably stigmatize and shame the people that actually engage in sex. And like this is, I would believe that this is the worst case of the proposition team when we're talking about like victims of sexual harassment, because this is not their choice and they are being violated by their rights, and they get no help from the proposition team. While in our world, in the opposition team, we eager to help them, we eager to free them from those traumas. So the second class about society, when the God brings up here the conservative society and have no hope for change, the opposition team, they try liberalize the society. And when this comes, we believe that this clash alone makes the opposition team win the debate. Because why? When it comes to scope, we have bigger and larger impacts on the society, because right now the adults, the secondary level students, they are the future of our society. So right now, when we make the changes, it will solve the problem in the long term. Thank you. Proud to oppose.
Hi judges, how are you guys doing? Mr. Long, how about we ask you first?
Let's talk about the third speaker from proposition side. I think there's two problems I got from your speech. First of all is the strategy, because at this point in this debate, right, it is important for us to know whether we should push the material from outside, the positive materials, or spending more time to mitigating the impact from the other side. I think this debate you still forgot about explaining how the fear mechanism actually work and affect the students in secondary school and change the behavior, for example, or make them, less like leaning towards the sex activity. That's the first thing. Second of all, I think there's an important point from the other side that criticize your stance, but you didn't clarify it. You let them get away from that criticization that imposed on your stance, which also very harmful if the judges buy it, right? For opposite side, I think there's a lot of contradictions in your team's case that I think that you didn't settle down. For example, in the second speech, they talk about why in conservative society you cannot learn, embrace sex or something like that. I don't see why could you do that with this motion in conservative societies. Second of all, you say you're supporting people, but then you're also telling them that they are not ready. So I'm not so sure whether your stance is actually supporting sex or helping them, or you just say that they are not ready. So it's a little bit confusing there. With that being said, I think at this point, 10 points for opposition.
Thank you so much. Mr. Stewart, let's hear from you.
So for the proposition team, there are kind of two main bits for me which are still floating. One of them is what Mr. Huang Long has already mentioned. Why is fear a useful mechanism for preventing the issues that you're mentioning? I feel like that should have been either contextualized a little bit more or a few more examples provided for that. The second is there's still this kind of assumption that providing students information about contraceptives is going to allow students to get away with it or to encourage students to have unprotected sex or underage sex. And I still don't know whether providing students just information is going to encourage them to do it. So I'm still not fully convinced that it's actually a mechanism from the other side that is actually pushing students in a particular direction. The opposition side, more younger, underage individuals will be having sex, which, if we're still listening to this side, which hasn't been directly addressed, they're saying that there are lots of issues that come with that. And so therefore, your worst case scenario still admits that there are lots of issues being caused in that world. So it's not as mitigated or as small as you are kind of mentioning. It's not just more people having sex, it's attributed with also the issues that have been mentioned by the proposition side. So with both of those being kind of taken into consideration, I think for you guys, there was a bit of a lost opportunity to really seal up this debate, okay? I thought it was a good round, but there are still some things that had just been added in that needed more context. So my points for this round are going to go to the proposition team.
Congratulations. So that's putting you guys up to 30 points over here, and we're still at 50 over here. Hey Juan, may I please hear from you?
Thank you, speakers, for a wonderful round.
I think this third speaker position is a tricky one. I think it's tricky because of two reasons. Number one, you have to support and back up what your own teammates said. But number two, I felt what was unfortunate about this round was despite your strengths as speakers, we still have so many remaining questions, and it was very difficult for me to make a decision because both speakers had their highs, but obviously also had their lows in terms of not answering their critical questions. So on proposition, I have a world where secondary students are incredibly rebellious. They do not have an understanding of consequences of underage sex. It's inappropriate content for them. And therefore, you support a type of education that puts or instills fear in them and about how these are negative consequences that they're not ready for because you believe the other type of education actually encourages them to engage in sex. And ultimately, you are trying to protect them. You also say something interesting, which is, well, when they get older, it's okay for them to be exposed to this. And I think you use the word specifically high school as well. So what I'm left with is, sure, we can protect them, shield them, but someday, one day, we're going to expose all that they need to know then. From the opposition, I have a world that basically says that we will include everything in our comprehensive education. We will tell them that we will give them fear. We will tell them that underage sex is bad. We will also inform them. So it was kind of this silver bullet-ish kind of solution where we're going to include everything and anything, which was a little bit unclear to me, to be perfectly honest. But ultimately, the reason you want to do that is because considering the context that these young students are living in right now, your goal just seemed to be consistently throughout all three speeches is that we're going to equip them with tools. And when they have tools and when they have knowledge, they're able to deal with the world by themselves. So when I'm left with these both best case scenarios, I think what I found more convincing was the idea that if children are reckless, if children are not guided properly, it would be a much worse off world. And therefore, my 10 points goes to the opposition.
Nice. So after the remarks from our judges, the opposition team is at 60 points, meaning that they are the winners of the game, but we're still going to keep going on because we still have the reply speech. And remember, in this game, no one's really a winner or loser, right? Still need to put your full effort in. So let's talk over proposition first. Do you feel let down?
I think, yeah, a little bit. But I think I was quite understand the reason why the judge judged that way. So, yeah.
Don't worry. Keep going. We still have more. Thank you. And how do you feel over here?
I think I could have done better, but I really appreciate that from the judges.
Okay, nice. Thank you so much, ladies. Please have a seat. After the third round of debates, the proposition team has 30 points and the opposition team has 60 points, meaning that, yes, they are the winners, but we will still have the reply speech and another special prize at the very end. So please hold on. We'll be right back after a few moments.
On the principal ground, we can also provide the right to have information when they are legally ready, when they are in high school, when they are older, 16, and that is the point.
We believe that children are both have the world our blank slate of paper. So when we do it more, the sooner we do it, educate them, the better they get later on in their life.
The strongest point was, you're not saying that you're not going to give these students information, okay? That's not what you're saying. You're saying you're going to give them information once they are of a legal age.
Welcome back to the Debaters Season 3. We're in the reply rounds, and trust me, it's been a very, very heated, I mean, I feel very hot, debates. Please allow me to welcome to the stage Ms. Pham Thuy Anh. Hello. And from the opposition team, Ms. Nguyen Thinh Lam. Two familiar faces. For the final reply speech, the rules will be slightly different. Each contestant will have 2 minutes to complete their speech, no POIs, and this time, the opposition team will start first. Any questions, ladies? With that being said, let the debates begin.
Going out is risky, but we learn to minimize that risk with helmets instead of never going out in the first place. Sex is also the same. Sex is risky, we accept that, but it's just as intimate as other human experiences. So therefore, sex guidance at a young age is better than fear. One thing that we want to clarify first is that we don't support teenage sex, but even if we accept the best case of this, the government side is that we will encourage more sexual activities to happen. We provided them with the knowledge, with the information so that they can better save and protect themselves in occasion of sexual harassment, in occasion of microaggressions. These are the things that the government side will never have, because again, as my teammates and we have already mentioned from time to time, is that they shy away from talking about sex at all. Their best case is that there will be no sex happen because there is fear, but known for the fact that these children are irrational. They accepted that. Even if they are irrational, they will not be able to weigh the consequences of having sex and not having it. Therefore, they will still do it on their side, but the thing is, it's not safe. They said that, oh, sex is suitable for the older ages. We agree. But the fact is that if you make the child so fearful about sex, then he or she will never have change the mindset in a more progressive way later on in life. And he or she will shy away from sexual activities further on. And we don't want that to happen. And on our world, our worst case is that, oh, more sex will happen because we give them the information, we give them getaways, like the government have said. But what do we bring to the table is that even if there is more sex, there is also ways for them to not engage in unsafe sex, for example. There will not be sexual harassment, and we can further change the society because we are changing the education of the future generation. And therefore, our best case wins this debate overall. Proud to oppose.
Judges, please note that all the opposition side is bringing us is the benefits of comprehensive sex, which is not always that necessary. Because why can't we teach to students about comprehensive sex when they come to high school? We believe that the only premise is guidance. But our first speaker has already mentioned that even if they have guidance on how to have safe sex, they would not always be able to put that into practicality, which means that the guidance, which is the rationality, can it always beat the sexual urge? Would it beat the peer pressure that these students are having? Would it beat the curiosity? Would it beat the glorification of sex in the media? They would, well, as long as they know that they can escape, they have no deterrence, they are very likely to have sex. Why are we opposing early sexual activities? Because we believe that sexual activities is very likely to lead to pregnancy and STDs. Even if we take the best case of the opposition side, they have safe sex. What will happen? Their consent is heavily violated, and their mentality afterwards, they would strongly regret about their choice, and we believe that they would have no capability of trusting anyone because they still fear of the social taboo. We believe that even comprehensive sex education also opposed too early sexual activities, as the opposition also agree with us. We believe that social taboo will also happen, and this social taboo will actually putting the fears even more, will heavily damage the mentality of these students more and more. So in the principle ground, we want about consent, and in the practicality, we believing that they are encouraging students to have sex because they have so many incentives to do so without any fear of not doing so. So we believe that the stress of exposure will cause anxiety and will heavily damage their school life experience and also cause insecurities to trust anyone. We believe that they didn't actually protect the students. Thank you for listening.
Work, ladies. I have a really quick comment for you. I think that was very good of you, very noble of you, even knowing that you know the other team might have won, you still gave a really good effort. I feel like you really put your heart into it, and I really admire that. So, compliments for you. With that being said, for this round, there will be no comments from the judges, so ladies, please take a seat. The final results of the reply round will be revealed right after this break. Welcome back, folks, to the results of our competition. But before I reveal the final results, I have a very special prize for our most valuable speaker tonight. The most valuable speaker will be voted remotely by a live audience. The winner of the most valuable speaker will receive a 1 million Vietnamese dong prize, and it will not affect the final results, but is just an initial incentive for the students. With that being said, take a look at the screen, please. Wow. With that being said, can I please have Miss Dang come to the stage? How does it feel to be everyone's favorite?
I think that I'm really happy right now because I think that my smile works some way, and I love that my atmosphere bring to the show has really take the maybe the favor of the audience, and yeah, that is the thing that I really honored to be like that favorite speaker.
It's always good that you know your best aspects, right? I mean, I think my best aspect is my eyes, right? So, congratulations on that. Perfect. So with that being said, I want to give the final results. So can I please have the rest of you guys come up on stage? I have in my hands the 3 votes of the judges, and they are fully anonymous. First, 5 points for the opposition team. Next, 5 more points for the opposition team. And last but not least, 5 points for the proposition team. All right, so that leaves the proposition team with 35 points and the opposition team with a strong lead at 70 points. But of course, there's no winners or losers here. We're all winners at the end of the day, right? So glad to make new friends, new connections, and learn new skills. I'd like to send a special thanks to all of you at home, our wonderful judges, our participants today, and British University of Vietnam for sponsoring this program. Have a great night, guys, and I'll see you next time.